Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Caroline Castora, joined by my forecaster, Connor Freidhoff. And Connor, is there anything interesting in the forecast coming up?
We're looking at another pleasant weekend, much like we had last week. But on Sunday, we do see a low-pressure system starting to make its way into the Mississippi River Valley that could give us some showers to start the next work week.
Okay, as long as the game is dry, that's all that matters to me.
I have to agree with that one.
I hear you also have some interesting nature in the news stories.
Yeah, a lot to talk about this week. We have a partial solar eclipse that occurred this week over Eurasia, as well as some interesting developments with the Philippine taxi industry.
Those sound very interesting. I have one about a family of Neanderthals that were found in a cave while their fossils were found, and then also another one on renewable energy.
Sounds interesting. Let's get into it. The streets are rivers, homes are inundated with floodwater, and emergencies have been declared. But despite this, some folks can still hail a cab. The Philippines taxi industry has taken steps to adapt to torrential rains of monsoon season, specifically in the Hagonoy municipality. Because of rainfall and rising tides, many drivers have modified their motorbike taxis by raising the seating and increasing the frequency of maintenance to avoid saltwater damage. The average daily pay of a driver is just only 500 pesos, or $8.50 US. Improper economic development and lagging of public services has also worsened the problem for the town. Several feet of rain fell during the week of October 16th due to Typhoon Nesat, further exacerbating the issue at hand. Despite the hardships that befall them, Hagonoy's taxi drivers provide a necessary resource for a periled town.
There's some good news coming out of the energy sector. Last year, renewable resources made up the vast majority of new generating capacity. Since renewable energy sources have become mainstream, concerns arose around their limited capacity. Certain sources like solar and wind weren't as reliable because they only generated power when the wind was blowing or the sun shining. But now, a new report from the Renewable Energy Agency says that renewable energy is dominating new power production worldwide. Solar power specifically is leading the way. Renewable sources made up 81% of new electricity capacity in 2021, up from 79% in 2020. This sounds promising, however, most actual electricity still comes from fossil fuels. The next step is reducing fossil fuel usage. To try and combat this, the next major focus at the Global Climate Summit, COP27, is reducing fossil fuel use and developing more renewables in places like Africa in particular. To meet climate goals, renewable energy would need to continue to accelerate by as much as 3 or 4 times the current pace by 2030 in order to meet climate goals globally. We are seeing steps in the right direction, but changes still need to be made.
Monday saw an opportunity for people around the world to do something they normally never shouldn't: look at the sun. A partial solar eclipse came into view over parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia at the start of the week. Peak coverage of the sun was 79% over in Chelyabinsk, Russia, where a meteorite explosion in 2013 injured 1,200. Some onlookers had to deal with cloud cover in the areas where the sun was partially covered. A partial solar eclipse is when the moon blocks some of the light of the sun, often creating a crescent image in the sky. A shadow is cast by the moon onto the earth, and those in the shadow will end up seeing the astronomical spectacle. Folks in the States will be able to experience a similar phenomenon next month as a total lunar eclipse when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow over parts of North America. A simple intersection of interstellar trajectories can prove to be quite the event on Earth. Just got to make sure you got your eclipse glasses for the next one.
The fossils of the first known family of Neanderthals were found in a cave in Russia. Fossilized bone fragments of this primitive family were discovered. The family consisted of a father, his teenage daughter, and others who were probably close cousins. These findings, published earlier this month in the Journal of Nature, provided insight into who roamed Eurasia tens of thousands of years ago. Sadly, this family of 11 most likely died of starvation together in the cave. Swedish geneticists have been studying Neanderthals like this for years by extracting DNA from cave floors and replicating their brain cells. This family was found in a Siberian cave called Chagirskaya, and they've been unearthing bone fragments since 2007 there. They've also found 90,000 stone tools in the cave, as well as butchered bison bones. This isn't the first time genetic relatives of Neanderthals have been found. However, by cross-referencing multiple families, they can create patterns and genetic profiles of the entire population. By continuing research like this, new information regarding early human life will continue to be discovered, giving us more of a glimpse of the past.
If you like mild temperatures and sunshine, this is the weekend for you. Continuing the trend from last weekend, high pressure up in Canada is the driving force for all the sunshine that we're going to have this weekend. So some clouds will be hanging around in the mid-Atlantic regions and over in some parts of the Great Lakes states, the Indiana-Kentucky border as well. Moving into Saturday, high pressure up and down the eastern seaboard. That's going to keep these mild temperatures and sunshine in the region pretty much for all Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland. But again, clouds in the Appalachians as the next weather maker is making its way up. And it's right there in the Ohio Valley. On Sunday, it'll be making its way on Monday towards us. More on that later. Clouds start to permeate the region. We'll see a few clouds here and there on Sunday as a result. High pressure does stick around for the northeastern part of the state, but it doesn't cause too much of a chagrin to the folks around there. 57 on Friday, mild temperatures continue. It's going to be a little breezy, but that will subside by Friday night as temperatures go back down towards freezing, so it will be chilly to start the weekend evenings. Saturday, great day for football, sunny at 59, so you might have to break out the sunscreen. I know you might be thinking it might be a bit late for sunscreen, but in a metal stadium, you'll thank me later. Saturday evening moves back down to those near freezing temperatures all the way down to 34, so it will remain a chilly one. Sunday, those clouds make their way in and temperatures go back up into the upper 50s. Speaking of football, big game day in Happy Valley on Saturday. Ohio State comes to town, 59 degrees for a noon kickoff. You can't ask much for better as we're approaching November, the last weekend of October, one of the biggest games of the season. Penn State is the underdog by 15.5 points, so it will be quite the task for the Nittany Lions to try to get a win here. Hopefully they do. I'm sure we're all hoping that. I'm hoping that as well. And stay tuned, Kyle Eck has a feature on some of the favorite Halloween temperatures that you could experience. Stay tuned.
As the spooky decorations go up, that can only mean one thing. Halloween is near. As sunrise occurs later and later, gorgeous fall foliage scenery transforms into haunting landscapes. Mid-autumn can often be a time of weather whiplash. Cold, wintry precipitation can fall one day, while sunshine and warmth can dominate another. Temperatures can also have an impact on how festive people may feel as Halloween approaches. You can see behind me, leaves are changing colors and starting to drop, a surefire sign that Halloween is coming up. But that means temperatures, they're going down. I recently asked several Penn State students and a Penn State professor, asking them what their favorite Halloween temperature is.
60 degrees, which never happens.
Probably in between 40 and 50 degrees. I like cold weather.
I gotta say 65 to 70 degrees just because I like the warm weather.
Perfect or ideal Halloween temperature would probably be in the 40s as far as the actual air temperature goes.
Somewhere within the 40s and 50s, like 50s during the daytime, 40s at night.
My perfect Halloween temperature is between 66 and 70 with a breeze.
I think I'd have to say between like 55 and 60 degrees because then it's warm enough to be able to wear the costume that you want to wear. Although I don't mind it being a little bit chillier because I grew up in the Northeast.
I would have to say around 55 because it's sort of right in the middle.
My favorite Halloween temperature is when it's probably about a good 65 and a light breeze, not very cloudy in the sky, something very comfortable to go out trick-or-treating in. And
obviously, there's a large spread of people's favorite Halloween temperature. For some, it takes into account personal comfort, while for others, geographical location can play a role. According to the sample of 9 interviewees, 55 to 59 degrees was the range of favorite Halloween temperatures. Given the sample of information, this data can then be compared to the actual average high temperature for State College on Halloween. As a matter of fact, the daily average high temperature for State College on Halloween is 55 degrees, which not only falls right in line with what some people say, but it also falls near the average of all the data given. While there is a large spread in people's favorite Halloween temperature, climatologically speaking, it makes sense. Nearly 26% of Halloweens over the past 31 years in State College featured daytime high temperatures below 50 degrees, whereas a third of the people interviewed confirmed their favorite Halloween temperature to be less than 50 degrees. 32% of Halloweens over the past 31 years in State College had high temperatures exceeding 60 degrees, while about a third of the interviewees favored Halloween temperatures, again above 60 degrees. Finally, over 40% of Halloweens had high temperatures run within 5 degrees higher or lower than the average high of 55. And a third of the people interviewed had their favorite Halloween temperature fall within that same margin. While terrifying decorations and cozy fall setups can really set the mood for people on Halloween, the weather and temperature can also really get Halloween lovers into the festive or spooky spirit. For Whether or Not, I'm Kyle Eck.
The outlook's bright for the weekend, literally. Looking at our weekend recap, the first 2 days, Friday and Sunday, temperatures up in the upper 50s, may get to 60 in some places like Philadelphia, and nice and sunny. Sunday is where clouds start to roll in. That next weather maker in the Mississippi Valley will be slowly but surely making its way up, and we'll start to get some showers on Monday. More on that in a second. Temperatures, for the low temperatures, take a look at these, down towards freezing on Friday and Saturday into Sunday. We start to bound up from freezing, so that won't be too much of a threat moving on. Monday is where we see that rain chance from that low pressure system, and the clouds will hang around for Tuesday. But take a look, these gradual temperature increase all the way up to 67 on Wednesday, 66 on Thursday. We see the temperatures make a huge jump, especially for the start of November, very uncharacteristic. But Friday, right here behind me, we can see these temperatures all the way down to 48, back to like even more below average. So in terms of average, next week, not going to be average at all. We see the temperatures make a huge bump with possible high pressure, and then a cold snap will define the start of the weekend. Not much what we're used to, but we'll see some October weather and then moving on to November weather as a result.
I'm excited for those temperatures next week. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's definitely uncharacteristic for what we're used to, especially in this region. It's going to feel more like September, more like the start of fall, even though we're almost halfway through fall at this rate.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast time is moving.
Yeah, it felt like fall started just not too long ago, but now we're already talking about November, and sooner or later we're going to be talking about December.
And with that, let's get into the Weather Whiz quiz for this week. This week's question is, what percentage of new energy capacity did renewable energy make up in 2021? Is it A, 53%, B, 66%, C, 79%, or D, 81%? And the correct answer is D, 81%. Does that percentage make sense to you, Connor?
It absolutely does. I've heard all the stories about like new energies like wind, solar, geothermal making a rise in 2021 and thankfully this year too. And it's a very welcome sight to see, especially with how energy is being produced in this country and the world around as well.
Very true. And with Halloween coming up, do you have any stories from Halloween in the past where the weather wasn't too good?
Well, one year we had a Halloween where it just got so low, it was down in the 30s, and it actually snowed in October. And it's not normal, even like I live in the mountains, so to have that is just crazy in itself. And we had our Halloween parade, and having to walk in that as a 10-year-old when it's that cold, not very fun.
Yeah, that does not sound fun. I'm from Texas, so obviously I've never experienced a snowy Halloween, but we've had some pretty warm Halloweens and some Halloweens where I had to layer under my costume, and that was the worst thing ever to a young kid. It ruined the costume, I felt like, personally.
It just ruins the mood as well. It's just trying to have fun, and then, well, it's too cold.
Yep, for sure. Thank you so much for watching tonight's show. Be sure to have a good and safe Halloween weekend, and thanks for watching.